extremism. We're going to play the quiz live on this show in just a few minutes. Interestingly, guess what? There's no mention of radical Islam in this quiz, if you hadn't already guessed. Also,
immigrants are welcome here. No hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here. No hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here.
were the US ICE officers right or wrong when it came to the shooting of a protester who rammed her vehicle into one of those officers? And breaking tonight, protests are erupting across Minneapolis following the shooting of that protester, Renee Macklin Good. Plus, Iran is in its 13th day of countrywide rebellion against the terrorist regime. Is the Ayatollah about to flee to Russia? We'll bring you all the latest updates. And a major NHS trust has been exposed for using Pakistani doctors as cut-price labour through a third-party recruitment scheme, raising serious questions about exploitation, oversight and allegations of corruption. Plus,
Elon Musk.
Get the hell out of our politics and our country.
Will Keir Starmer ban X in Britain? Do Labour really care about AI-generated images of women in bikinis more than they care about the rape of Pakistani rape gangs, of course? We'll be getting to the bottom of that on the show. Also joining me tonight, former Conservative Special Advisor Lauren McKevitt even, Paul Richards, former Labour advisor and senior political correspondent for the Daily Express, Christian Galgi. I'm trying to get my words out. Can you guess what happens next?
All right, thank you. You'll make it back one way or the other. You're all going to do very well. I think really very well. Marco just gave me a note.
Yep, I'm about as orange as Donald Trump is right now, if you're wondering. A huge 2 hours coming up, but first we're going to get your news with Sophia Wensler.
Alex, thank you and good evening. It's just gone 9 o'clock. Your top stories this hour. Donald Trump has said he's ready to help Iranians protesting against the regime as Iran faces international condemnation over the killing of anti-government demonstrators. The US president said on Truth Social that Iran was looking at freedom and that the US was ready to help. It comes after reports US government officials were considering striking multiple Iranian military targets. At least 50 people have been killed since the demonstrations began 2 weeks ago, with the country's supreme leader accusing protesters of trying to please the president of the US. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has issued a joint statement alongside the leaders of France and Germany, urging Tehran to exercise restraint. In other news now, at least 29 people have been arrested in Minneapolis during protests over the death of a woman who was shot by a US Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent. The city mayor has urged activists to remain peaceful and not take bait from President Trump. Over 1,000 rallies against immigration enforcement are planned across the US after 37-year-old Renee Good was shot in her car on Wednesday. The Trump administration say the agent who fired the shots acted in self-defense, but local officials say the woman posed no danger. Police have been accused of covering up the threat to Maccabi Tel Aviv football players from local Islamist protesters. The Telegraph newspaper is reporting a secret dossier from West Midlands Police reveals that Israeli football players were stalked by Birmingham locals before their Europa League away match against Aston Villa. But those same documents also show that officers asked for the police's social media posts to state that the day had been largely peaceful. It was in an attempt to dampen down any online sentiment and prevent this being over-dramatised. Meanwhile, the Times newspaper is reporting that Green Lane Mosque helped appoint the police chief who banned the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from attending the Europa League fixture. It's understood the force consulted the mosque before banning the supporters from attending the match back in November. And Elon Musk has accused Sir Keir Starmer's government of being fascist after ministers threatened to ban the social media site X over AI-generated sexualised images. It came after Downing Street called changes to the chatbot Grok insulting to victims of misogyny and sexual violence. The tech tycoon claimed critics of his X platform want any excuse for censorship. Those are your latest GB News headlines. Now it's back to Alex.
All right, welcome to the show. It's a little bit different, as you can see tonight, because we're going to play a quiz. And because the reason why I want to play this quiz is because the British government seems desperate to put white British kids on the terrorist prevent programme. I've got full access to their latest propaganda tool that is being rolled out to your children, you and your grandchildren as well, to which appears to be aimed at ensuring they don't become patriotic or question immigration. It's one of the most shocking things I've honestly seen for a while, and rather than tell you about it, I'm going to play it with you right now. OK, let's go to question number 1, please. So what you'll see here is that Charlie, he's our lovely character here. He's receiving an important grade on his piece of work. If we go to the next one here, next slide. He hasn't done as well. We'll keep going along here a little bit, please. He's got put in a lot of effort, he says. He's put in a lot of effort, like I did at university. Charlie's taking a seat in his class, keep on going. And he's going to get to a point here. Well, he didn't get as well as he expected, all right? He got 60 out of 100 on his results. Next, you'll see there he's a little bit upset about it. And to make matters worse, it looks like somebody of colour got a slightly better result than him, right? And that means this person has allegedly received a job offer. Next, please. And what happens there? Charlie's applied to dozens of jobs, but he hasn't had any luck yet. OK, next. Right, somebody else in the class tells Charlie that this is proof that immigrants are coming to the UK and taking our jobs, right? Sort of, kind of, we can make the argument that the data does show that cheap labour is undercutting the workforce in Britain. OK, next. What happens here? Right, how should Charlie react? Should he ignore the comment and ask the course leader for feedback about how he can improve? Should he ignore the comment but don't address his frustration? Just pent it up, Charlie, that's what you should do. Should he agree with the comment and explore the idea further? Now, I'm going to do everything they don't want you to do on this quiz. Let's click C, shall we? And then next, there we go. All right, oh dear, you see that little bar there? That's gone down. You're in terrorist category there, aren't you? Charlie approached the classmate angrily. He agreed with the ideas and began shouting about them in class. How dare you use your voice, Charlie? How dare you use your democratic right of free speech? Next. The teacher let Charlie know the school has a zero tolerance on hate speech. Is it hate speech to say that immigrants are coming into Britain stealing people's jobs? I don't know. All right, next. The teacher was concerned by Charlie's outburst and tried to get to the bottom of it. There we go. OK, next slide. Charlie became more agitated and ended up having to sit alone, so they isolated him. Right? Doesn't sound like a really good way to address sort of, a problematic young man. And became more agitated sitting alone during the week's lessons because of the hurtful things he said. This is supposedly what's going on in schools. All right, next. Now let's go to number 3, shall we? We can't unlock the others yet. We must get through the rest of the programme. Right, Charlie's been chilling out all afternoon, as you do. Next. Right? He's been on social media. Uh-oh. You might want to ban that. Next. He spots... Charlie's a they, by the way, just so you know. They haven't said he, they say they. Just putting that out there. Right, next, he's getting a lot of attention. Right, there's a video he's seen, got a lot of attention. Charlie's watching a video and learns from the video that Muslim men are stealing the places of British war veterans in emergency accommodation. Bad, obviously so bad. Is it true, though? Is it true? Is that actually happening in Britain? Well, you can have a look online for yourselves. Next. In the video, they explain that the government is betraying white British citizens and need to take back control of their country. Does this all sound familiar to you? Next. Right, how should Charlie react? Should he just scroll past the content and ignore the message? Should he find out more about the topic online? Or should he engage directly with this post? It seems fair, it seems unfair. We should click C, aren't we? We're going to do everything they tell us not to do. By the way, we do know that there are lots of places where British people are at the back of the queue because of illegal migrants. We've even got council houses being built, brand new council houses being built because of this, right? Charlie couldn't believe what they were seeing. Next. Charlie immediately began typing and putting in comments. Right, let's go to the next slide. Let's get there. So he's getting involved in it. As for the likes, comments came in, he's getting lots and lots of enthusiasm here by standing up for veterans and white people's rights. Bad. Next. Unfortunately, Charlie didn't realise, how would he know, that some of the groups he was engaging with are illegal? How would he know? Next. Right, that's bad, Charlie. How dare you? Let's go to 4. Charlie's been enjoying a family dinner at home when they don't want to misgender him. They receive a notification from their friend. That's bad, he's at dinner. Let's go to the next one. Right. Oh, look, his mum's angry already at him. This poor kid, everyone's angry at him. Right, put your phone down, Charlie. Right, next. Right, his close friend is going to protests. That's what the concern is here. Let's go to the next slide. Right, she's encouraging him to go. Right, she's encouraging him to join in. All right. We do lots of protests in Britain, don't we? We see them very regularly. Right, next. Right, she's encouraging him to join a secret group. Let's go click see and join this secret group, which could just be, you know, a WhatsApp group for all we all know. Charlie thought the video their friend posted was really funny. Couldn't believe how many likes and memes it was getting. So inspiring. Next. Okay, Charlie joined the secret group on this new platform. Phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Everyone's getting worried. Maybe Charlie's becoming an influencer. Next. Right. Charlie's mum was not pleased and grew suspicious. Next. Right. Let's go quickly to 5. Right. Charlie was seeing their dad. I don't know if that's their dad. I don't know. He's in East Riding here. Let's go next. Let's speed up. Charlie, Amelia's friend, looking interested. No, she wanted to go to a protest, but she can't make it, so she wants him to go. Next. Right, let's keep going. She wants Charlie to go to this because she wants to protest the erosion of British values. That's the crime she's committing here. Right, Charlie's got nothing to do this weekend. He's going to the protest. Next. What's going to happen to Charlie? What do you think is going to happen to him? Right, what should he do? He should go for C. He's going to join and go to the protest based on what his friends told him. Let's click C. Right, good stuff. Yeah, let's go. Go on, Charlie. They, them, going to a British values protest. Sounds about right. Next. Keep going. He's going to seek like-minded individuals. Yeah, let's keep going. He's made a banner. Don't really do that very often on the right, do they? But there we go. He's got to the protest. And next, what's going to happen next? Of course, because it's a white British protest, there's a fight. There's a riot happening. And Charlie is now, because he's there, about to get his name taken down by those coppers there. Let's press next. Right, there we go. They took his details. Don't go to protests, kids. That's the message. Especially white British values protests. Next. Right, Charlie was frightened. His parents would be informed. So this is the kind of stuff that your kids are learning about. We just press next on here just to get it back to where we go. There we go. We've completed part of the main course there. Where is the mention of radical Islamism? Where is the mention of it anywhere? Is it any surprise that the far-right referrals in Prevent now outweigh the Islamist referrals? That's despite the MI5 terror watch list consisting of 45,000 individuals, 75% of whom are Islamist extremists and 25% are extreme right-wing. Can you see the problem here? The game raises serious questions about the, of course, approach of the British government when it comes to radicalism. Is it bad to protest against veterans being made homeless as a result of illegal migration? Is it bad to share news with your friends in a WhatsApp group? This is a piece of propaganda, and it seems specifically designed to terrify white British children, despite all the evidence showing that they are not the problem. In fact, I think this is going to lead to severe anxiety for white British kids, as if they weren't already treading on eggshells. And if this doesn't worry you about this government and our future, I don't know what will. I've got my brilliant panel here with me tonight. Former Conservative Special Advisor Laura McKevitt, Paul Richards is joining me here, and Christian Calgi. Thank you all very much for indulging in the little quiz. I hope you enjoyed it. Did you learn anything, Christian?
Well, I feel thoroughly de-extremified now.
Yeah.
I want to go and join Greenpeace. I feel I'm going to get my sandals out and all the rest of it. I mean, clearly, I think you're right on a number of points. I think the funniest part about about that quiz was the part where it suggested that to de-radicalise our protagonist on the issue of illegal migrants taking, service veterans' homes, he should go on the internet and learn more about it. As if that would disprove the claims that were being made in that particular slide. We know that's happening. It's clearly written by a complete lefty. But I think the other point, based on that, imagine if that slideshow was written all about Islamist extremists. What's that going to do to change people's minds? It's patronising, it's childish. Yep. And at the end of the day, once again, there's so many aspects of British life where we are trying to use a sledgehammer to crack a walnut. And, we're right to say that Islamic extremism is a small percentage of Muslims in this country, and right-wing extremism is a very small percentage of white Britons. And the people that are going to be drawn down those paths are not going to be dissuaded by ridiculous cartoon propaganda from East Riding Council. Yeah. So I don't understand the point of it.
And this is it, Lauren, right? Because there is a problem with radicalisation in Britain, and we're seeing it more and more played out on the streets. We're going to talk more about it later on in the show tonight as well. But this is the problem. We're constantly going after white British kids, in my opinion, and this is a great example of it. Throughout some of that video, you can see the problem that Charlie's constantly being framed with is people of colour, when actually a lot of kids who might be, not be able to get jobs and stuff aren't angry at people of colour. They're angry at the system from letting in so many people. It's not necessarily the people they're angry at, it's the system, and surely they're allowed to have an outlet for that.
So I found the first question in that quiz really, really interesting, because this is the question of I've studied really hard, I got 60, that person got 75, she got a job offer and she's brown and I'm not. Yeah. What I find fascinating about that is if you remove colour from the equation, schools should be teaching pupils that somebody who gets a better mark than you for whatever reason is not doing you a disservice on the grounds. There is a fundamental educational purpose to that lesson once you remove race and sex and other protected characteristics from it, but that's not what they're choosing to teach. And so having introduced something like this, to me, indicates that there's been a fundamental failure in the education system for a long time that has failed at point A, which is that person has a higher grade than you. That doesn't mean that they're doing you a disservice. It's your own work that, even though you've worked hard, needs to get better.
When I saw that question, I thought that was nonsense, that question, because I don't think that's the sort of thing young people... having lots of younger brothers myself, they are angry at stuff like that. The whole
premise is a nonsense.
Exactly.
The fundamental things that they're trying to teach you, you have to teach in spite of race, in spite of white extremism. Because if you look at things like, do you go online and learn more about it? There's a fundamental element of critical thinking that has not been taught to this person already. And that fundamental point of critical thinking is absent before you get to the point that says, do you go online and do more about it? Which is a terrible thing to suggest.
And I think if you think about what we've seen over the last 5-6 years, if the races were reversed, of course, you will radicalise. You would see, an ethnic minority radicalised on the grounds of white privilege.
What you would see...
about 15 different quangos by now on the grounds of racism if this had been built around the concept of Islamic extremism.
But on that point as well, you would see if it was Charlie who got a better grade and the other, maybe the person of colour was complaining, they go, we need a DEI programme for that young girl to help her get her grades up, right? Wouldn't get it for Charlie, though, would you? Paul, these sorts of programmes have the opposite effect on young people. They patronise them, they talk down to them, they don't help de-radicalise anybody. The Home Office is completely out of touch with reality. And do you disagree with the things that you saw on that slideshow?
Well, why are you saying the Home Office, though? As far as I can see, this is Hull City Council and Bedford.
It has been sponsored by and paid for by the Home Office as far as we are part of the programme.
That group of councils went to the Home Office and asked for a supportive tool.
Well, as far as we're aware.
They should ask for the money back, though. It's absolute nonsense. It's 15 minutes of our lives we're not going to get back.
To be fair, this country has the largest number of video game programmers in the world. They're all going to have jobs from somewhere.
But this is the thing, Paul, right? This is the thing. It's targeting white British kids, and we've seen this with this government going after the adolescent stuff. Oh, it's white kids about abusing women. Oh, it's white kids who are radicalised. Why are they not talking about radical Islamism, which we know is a massive problem? Prevent referrals massively outweigh for right-wing extremism than they do for Islamist extremism, despite the fact we know the terror watch list is 75% radical Islamism.
Absolutely. I think we need a massive education programme to understand what Islamism is. I think most people don't even know what it is. They couldn't point to, the Muslim Brotherhood, or they don't understand the roots of it, the ideology that lies behind it. It's a 100-year-old organisation now.
Maybe we should get the UAE to write one for us.
They don't know that Hassan al-Banna is not a name anyone's heard of, but he's the founder founder of this thing. And we need to know how to distinguish Islamism from the religious practice of Islam and have that education go on in all schools, everywhere, so that the warning signs can be spotted much earlier. And I mean, Prevent, it was designed to stop, violent extremism. But every violent extremism starts with a non-violent extremism.
Well, no, Prevent was actually designed to have a single point of contact within the British government for all agents of the state, so councils, educational providers, everybody who didn't know who to call when they said, I have a concern, I need to call somebody, there needs to be a bigger adult than me in the room right now, and I don't know who it is. Prevent was designed for that purpose.
Well, it was as soon as
you try and expand that beyond the ideology for which it was originally designed, you spot all of the flaws because you're dealing with suddenly the entire population of the United Kingdom and not a significant minority.
Final thoughts, Christian?
Yeah, it's just interesting. I remember for the last decade, lefties, Corbyn, Owen Jones, constantly saying, but white, far-right extremism make up the majority of Prevent's workload. Well, now we know why.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. And at the end of that, which I didn't show you because we didn't have time, but at the end of that, if you complete the quiz, Charlie's teacher refers him to Prevent, right? Because she thinks he's an extremist.
Along with all
there you
of us,
go.
apparently.
This is there's warnings throughout it. Don't do this. Don't respond to white British values. Don't go to protests. Don't go and talk about things online. To me, it was basically trying to tell white British kids, don't get involved in this. We think it's extremism. And I think that is completely insane. And we haven't got something similar for radicalism as far as I can tell. Anyway, Matteo Bergamini, Shout Out UK's founder, part of this programme, and CEO, said this: Shout Out UK's interventions focus on building resilience to the techniques and methods used by all extremist actors to spread extreme right, left wing, extreme Islamist and non-specific ideologies, including fascination with extreme violence. The work is co-developed with each local authority and tailored to focus on each specific local threat picture. Oh, that's interesting. Teaching media literacy ensures that all those impacted by our programmes leave with lifelong tools and skills to safeguard themselves from these threats. Our Pathways game is designed for the local threat picture in collaboration with the local authority and funded by the Home Office to teach about the concept of extremism and radicalisation and to illustrate the scope of online dangers and radicalisation routes. Games can be a fantastic and interactive way to engage young people in complex topics and showcase the support available to them. Oh, I wish I could say so many things. A Home Office spokesperson said, Prevent has diverted nearly 6,000 people away from violent ideologies, stopping terrorists and keeping our country safe. We provide funding to local authorities to tackle a range of threats, including Islamist extremism and extreme right wing. These projects are designed to target local radicalisation risks and are created and delivered independently of government. We are furious at the level of illegal migration, which is why the Home Secretary has set out the most sweeping changes to cut illegal migration in a generation to restore order and control our borders. There you go. GBNews, by the way, let me catch my breath, have also contacted East Riding of Yorkshire and Hull councils and are awaiting a response.
Thank goodness for that.
Yes, yeah, thank goodness. Time now for the Great British Giveaway to give you some relief, and the time is ticking. Your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner today. It's 85 grand. Here's all the details you need.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. What would you spend all of that cash on? 2026 could be the year you spend more time spending with an incredible £85,000 in your bank. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 9th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, coming up, unrest spreads across Iran with deadly crackdowns and communication shutdowns. But first... The whole world's world's just up in flames at the moment. It's just completely nuts. Next, unrest in Minneapolis after the fatal ICE shooting fuels political backlash and fierce debate. This is Alex Armstrong tonight, only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray,
are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Yes, a video filmed by the US immigration agent from ICE's body cam who fatally shot a woman in Minneapolis has emerged, showing the moments before he opened fire. Renee Nicole Good was a mother of 3, and her wife, Becca, who was sat at the scene in the car, has said they stopped in the street to support their neighbours, adding that they had whistles but the officers had guns. Both Donald Trump and the US Vice President J.D. Vance have accused the driver of using her car as a weapon and says the footage shows the officer acting in self-defense. Meanwhile, in the United States, tensions are escalating as protests spread nationwide. More than 1,000 demonstrations are planned following recent ICE shootings, with crowds chanting slogans like "ICE has got to go" and "No fascist USA." So do you think the US immigration officer was right to shoot or wrong? And now I'm joined by Chairman of Republicans Overseas for the UK, Greg Swenson, and retired Scotland Yard detective Mike Neville. Welcome very much to the show, gentlemen. Greg, I'll start with you. This has captured America, of course, this shooting. Lots of social commentary on the videos. What's your take, Greg?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that the officer was well within his rights to use deadly force against a fleeing subject. And by the way, this latest video that came out, it actually came out Friday morning in the U.S., mainstream media avoided it as long as they could until they couldn't anymore. And so they finally, many of them posted it today. But I think even if it wasn't, as it appears that she was trying to run the policeman, the ICE agent over, in fact, she did run him over. But even before that, it doesn't really matter whether she was intent on killing an officer. Just putting that officer in danger and using the vehicle as a weapon, which she clearly was, that's enough for the legal ability for a policeman or a federal agent to use deadly force. So, yeah, it's all in the right. And I think even much more nonpartisan legal experts are saying the same thing.
Mike, yeah, I've seen lots of different versions of this video, and the one that came out that Greg's referring to seemed pretty conclusive to me that that officer was being rammed by a car driven by Renee Good in that video. Obviously, when we look at this from a British perspective, it's quite jarring because our police don't tend to carry guns very often. What's your take on it, Mike? Was it too excessive to shoot her?
I think so, yes, in the sense that I didn't carry a pistol in the civilian police, but I did in Northern Ireland and in West Germany in the military police. And would I have shot this woman 3 times? No, I don't think I would have done. He didn't fall over. It's not like the Chris Cabba case. If you look at the Chris Cabba case where the police officer was tried for murder, he was in a situation where if Chris Cabba had jolted forward in that car, he would have been badly crushed and even killed. Hence, he fired 1 shot and killed Chris Cabba. So the officer there was absolutely in his right when he shot Chris Cabba. Here we have a completely different situation, in my view. The officer didn't even fall over. I think this is a case of bad driving. In my view, the woman's a bit of a lunatic. I would never agree with any of her politics whatsoever. But does she deserve to be shot for it? I really don't think so. And the other thing as well is on a very practical level, you see that when he shoots her, the car goes out of control. Now, guidance in the US about shooting at moving vehicles is it could actually injure more people because people crash into bystanders. And likewise, you might well shoot one of your fellow officers when you do that. So I think the thing would have been here is to let her drive off, stop her 100 yards down the road, pull her out the car and have her charged with either dangerous driving, endangering life, fleeing from police officers. But to fire 3 shots like that, I just disagree with it.
Greg, is it the case? Listen, I've seen the footage, and having lived in America myself, I can understand there is a different way that law enforcement deal with people getting involved or interfering with the law. My opinion on this, Greg, is that people shouldn't get involved in the law and interfere with law enforcement if they don't want to put themselves at risk. She wasn't complying, as far as we can tell from reports, with the officer's instructions, was she?
Deliberately parked their car in a perpendicular direction to block the ICE agents from executing their jobs and from actually, protecting or enforcing our laws here. And so, they clearly had poor intents. And while this is a tragedy, it really is. You'd always rather see a law enforcement officer live than a criminal live if the choice is between the two, as sad as that is, because we've seen too many policemen that have been killed in the last few years, and it's just not right. So, if they have to take a defensive position and protect themselves and their fellow enforcement officers from a rogue actor, which this woman clearly was, did she deserve to die? Of course not. Nobody does. But if you ram your car into a policeman, or you have you're showing that there's great risk to these officers, then this is bound to happen. So, and I think the other point, Alex, is this is like sort of an inevitable outcome of the escalation on the progressive left of demonizing ICE agents for enforcing our laws. If you don't like the laws, well, then go to your congressman and try to get them changed. But these are the laws of the United States, and they are enforcing the law. So, if the Democrats don't like that, they should change the law.
All right, gentlemen, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot more about this this very topic. As you can see, live pictures there. I wonder how long those protests will go on for. This has also split the British nation, by the way, because we're not used to gun violence in any way in Britain, even from our police, because we just don't carry them. But there we go. What do you think? gbnews.com/Yorsay. Let me know whether you agree or disagree. I just tend to fall on the side of that's America's laws. They do carry guns. We're not used to it here, but don't drive your car towards a police officer. Simple as that. that. Anyway, coming up, scrutiny of NHS recruitment practices involving overseas doctors is coming up. But first... Well, those are pictures from Iran from last night, and, well, those protests are escalating, and so is the violence. This is Alex Armstrong tonight. We'll bring you that next.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Strong winds are expected across eastern parts of the Mediterranean at the moment. Meanwhile, heavy rain will affect parts of Turkey into Cyprus as well. This system is gradually moving away, so it's going to dry up across Greece and the Greek islands early next week. A few showers eastern parts of Italy, otherwise plenty of fine weather, and Spain's looking reasonable. Sunny spells, average temperatures. Likewise for the Canaries, plenty of fine weather to come during the days ahead.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. A very unsettled 24 hours through the night into Sunday. Heavy rain, some snow and ice, and some strong and gusty winds developing, all because of a change of weather type. We're losing the blues on the map. The cold weather we've seen all week being replaced by Atlantic weather systems, milder air, but increasing risk of strong winds and heavy rain. And heavy rain pushing in across Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, with some strong and gusty winds. Met Office warnings out here. And as that weather system bumps up against the cold air, parts of Scotland, Northern England seeing the risk of some heavy snow, some icy conditions developing. Cold in the southeast, but staying dry here with some frost and ice to start Sunday morning. But a very unsettled start across parts of Scotland. An amber snow warning out here. We could see 20 to 30 centimetres of snow falling over the next 24 hours. Also heavy rain, and that becoming increasingly a feature as we go through the day, leading to the risk of flooding. Rain across Northern Ireland, a mix of rain, sleet and snow for parts of Northern England. Some of this will be icy and lead to some tricky travelling conditions. Rain across Wales and the West Country as well. And Sunday itself will be a wet day, a windy day, gusts of 60, 70 miles an hour across parts of Scotland in particular, but milder air pushing in through the day. So the snow turning back to rain by the afternoon. Eventually still some snow over the high ground, and those temperatures really rising, 11 or 12 Celsius across the far west. Still cold in the east, 3 or 4 degrees. And then a low pressure system could give some very strong and gusty winds Sunday night into Monday morning across parts of Northern Ireland, northwest Scotland, but this eventually clearing, and the day ahead looks like a mixture of areas of cloud and rain, and generally milder for all, and it generally stays unsettled into next week. Further spells of rain at times, but staying on the mild side.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. We start with some breaking news. The US military says it's carried out strikes across Syria targeting Islamic State, also known as ISIS. The strikes today targeted ISIS throughout Syria, US Central Command said in a statement, adding the strikes were carried out early afternoon US Eastern Time. The statement didn't note whether anyone was killed in the strikes. And this is sort of a theme of 2026 so far. We're, how many days into it? 10 days in. And this brings me very nicely on on to our next segment, because Donald Trump has said America is ready to stand with Iranians protesting against the regime as Iran faces international condemnation over the killing of anti-government demonstrators. The president posted on his Truth Social to say that Iran was looking for freedom and that the USA was ready to help. This comes as Iran is facing, of course, that massive countrywide protests. At least 65 people have been killed since the demonstrations began 2 weeks ago. Some reports say it's much higher. And in an attempt to curb the growing unrest, internet and phone lines have been cut off and flights cancelled. Well, here in the UK, Keir Starmer, alongside leaders of France and Germany, have finally released a message, and they've urged Iran to exercise constraint. It's not quite the, get on your feet and overthrow these evil people I was looking for, but hey, that's how it is. In London, Iranians living overseas have also been taking to the streets. Meanwhile, Iran's supreme leader has accused protesters of attempting to please Donald Trump, blaming foreign influence for growing unrest. We're now joined by Iranian dissident Niag Ghorabani. Niag, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Listen, those images were yours, weren't they, by the way? So we've got protests going on here outside the embassy in London. You even replaced the flag at one point, didn't you?
Rising the flag, as actually British done last year. This is actually really important to show the nationalists who love their country, they can took their country back. This is a fight you can, as a British, you can learn from Iranian how you have to fight for your country. And really, I'm really impressed with the Iranians inside Iran, how they fight.
This is, I've got Iranian family. I've actually been to Iran myself. A beautiful, beautiful country. Some of the most... a long time ago now. It was a while ago. It was quite a while. I can't actually remember the exact day, if I'm being honest with you, but it was a long time ago. But it was a beautiful country, amazing people, but very oppressed. One of the memories I have was going to a party, actually, behind closed doors. The women are just like, strip off. It's crazy. This is the kind of westernised liberals, when I say liberals, I mean them with a small L, liberal people who want freedom, who crave that prior Iran, who have been oppressed by a small group of people. How do you think this is going to play out, Niag?
The Iranians right now, 2 days they don't have internet. We have just Starlink. Some people had Starlink, around 1,000, receiver and send and receiver from Starlink we have at the moment. But only way we have a connection with the Iranians is via Starlink, thanks to Elon Musk. And I think the Iranians make decision. They want their country back. They are enough with the Islamist regime in Iran. And I think this time it's going to be last time. And
you think this is it? You think they're going to go all the way?
Absolutely, because I have a connection with the Iranians before they cut off the internet. But right now I have, some people had direct connection. They send me a message and saying lots of people actually explain how interesting people coming, lots of people in the street. I heard a voice message of lady yesterday. She explained 2009, if you remember, 2009, lots of people in the street protesting against Islamic Republic. Myself was there in Tehran. I get injury as well, but they're saying the voice message the lady sent it to her friend. She said 2009 it's nothing
compared to this.
Because
of course the Iranian Revolutionary Guard are going to fight back now, we suspect, and they're getting more and more violent. Will that crackdown lead to the end of these protests? Because that's what's happened before, and the Iranian regime uses brutal violence to crush those protests.
2 days ago, I actually posted the video about massacre Iranians. The footage was really, so sad footage. You see the dead body in the parking. You know why the people actually take the dead body in the parking? Because the Islamic Republic not take the body hostage.
Yeah, as a message.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They took the dead body in the parking in the actually building, and filming and showing that. I post that. Nobody believed that.
Wow. 3
different video come in the same place.
Wow.
And then after that, the main media stream, they start believing this is true. That's happening.
And of course, the Crown Prince, who's in exile at the moment, he's released messages. He's going on media now to call for Iranians to stand up. What would you like to see if this regime I think is a terrorist Islamist regime? I want to see them gone so the Iranian people can be free. What would you want for the Iranian people next?
As a Crown Prince today actually makes a statement and said, asking by Iranian national strike, and he said, go take the street. This is your street. You have to, you take the control of the street. It's
what would follow this new revolution? What would follow it? Democracy, a constitutional democracy with the Crown Prince?
As he always mentioned, he's a son of Shah, and automatically we want to vote for monarchy. But he always saying we have to, democratic election, asking people what they want. We will go for it.
Well, listen, I'm here. We will keep on covering this topic. We promise the Iranian people, we want we want to get your freedom back. So, yeah, thank you so much for being so brave.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
GB News, all staff in GB News, they really supporting us, and really we appreciate it.
We'll keep doing it. I promise. We'll keep doing it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Coming up, talking of a similar sort of theme here tonight, Islamic extremism has infiltrated almost every British institution. I'm going to talk to you about that. But next, an investigation raises concerns about how overseas doctors were employed by an NHS trust.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device, and as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody. An investigation by the British Medical Journal has revealed that one of Britain's largest NHS trusts employed Pakistani doctors as cheap labour. And it was discovered that doctors who paid no tax came to the UK as international training fellows and worked at places including the University Hospital Birmingham NHS Foundation Trust. The inquiry uncovered that the doctors were being exploited through an agreement with third-party organisations, which meant they could be paid less than doctors employed directly by the trusts. Joining us now is NHS doctor, Dr. Basha Mukherjee. Dr. Basha, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for joining me. We've spoke about this together, me and you, on this show before, and I've always been warning of this exploitation of the doctors that come here. Not only are they undercutting British doctors, which we do need to recruit more of, as junior doctors have been protesting about, but also this isn't a good look for Britain. It looks like we are basically importing these people, paying them very poorly, and then setting them on to British people. What do you make of this story, Dr. Basha?
I'm not surprised, to be honest, and this particular story talks about employing doctors from Pakistan, which is technically a red list country, which means that there are certain countries in the world that face massive healthcare shortages, and to steal doctors away from those countries is technically ethically wrong, because we're essentially short-staffing the hospitals and the healthcare systems in those countries. But more importantly, even we're talking about cheapening the labour and thus, driving the wages down of resident doctors in this country, which has obviously led to a massive, outrage amongst the resident doctor community in the UK, being so unhappy with the way that their wages have not grown in the last 15 years. That itself is, it might seem like we're saving the NHS money, but we're not. And I can speak this from personal experience. I had when I was working in hospitals myself, I had a international medical graduate or a medic who was from a different country. They were brought on under the team and given a typical, sort of blending in period, so to speak. It took them much longer than a resident doctor who has been trained in this system to essentially integrate into the system. But they were already being fit into the rota as if they were to replace or be, equivalent of a resident doctor from here. Of course, that didn't happen. And, whenever I'd be left alone with this doctor, I was doing two people's job because they weren't integrated into the system well enough.
Yeah,
so
that's the other part of the risk, isn't it, Doctor? That's the other part of the risk. They don't understand our systems and they make a lot more errors as a result of it.
Absolutely. I mean, I've absolutely nothing against doctors who've trained elsewhere, but I suppose human bodies are human bodies everywhere, but the systems are very, very different. We have a lot of red tape. And that's part of the reason why the job of resident doctors is much more arduous and longer in the UK, because there's just so much of paperwork and so much of admin workload, and that does slow things down. When it comes to safety, of course, in this particular story, these particular doctors, they didn't even have a criminal record check, which to me is very worrying.
Dr. Mukherjee, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it, and I do agree with your sentiments as well. Thanks for joining me this evening. A Birmingham NHS Foundation Trust spokesman said this: a number of actions need to be taken which are complex and we will continue to take time to work through. They could not confirm, however, whether any staff would face disciplinary action over the management of the scheme. Right, next. The UAE, the United Arab Emirates, has limited government funding for students seeking to study in the universities here in the UK because of concerns, get this, about the presence and influence of Islamist networks in the UK. We've also been talking about this a lot in the police. How much further do you think it goes? Well, I'm going to be joined by someone from the UAE to tell us what Britain needs to do to fix this radical problem. This is Alex Armstrong tonight, only on GB News. Let's get your weather. Stay tuned.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. A very unsettled 24 hours through the night into Sunday. Heavy rain, some snow and ice and some strong and gusty winds developing, all because of a change of weather type. We're losing the blues on the map. The cold weather we've seen all week being replaced by Atlantic weather systems, milder air, but increasing risk of strong winds and heavy rain. And heavy rain pushing in across Northern Ireland, Western Scotland with some strong and gusty winds. Met Office warnings out here. And as that weather system bumps up against the cold air, parts of Scotland, Northern England seeing the risk of some heavy snow, some icy conditions developing. Cold in the southeast, but staying dry here with some frost and ice to start Sunday morning. But a very unsettled start across parts of Scotland. An amber snow warning out here. We could see 20 to 30 centimetres of snow falling over the next 24 hours. Also heavy rain, and that becoming increasingly a feature as we go through the day, leading to the risk of flooding. Rain across Northern Ireland, a mix of rain, sleet and snow for parts of Northern England. Some of this will be icy and lead to some tricky travelling conditions. Rain across Wales and the West Country as well. And Sunday itself will be a wet day, a windy day, gusts of 60, 70 miles an hour across parts of Scotland in particular, but milder air pushing in through the day. So the snow turning back to rain by the afternoon. Eventually still some snow over the high ground, and those temperatures really rising, 11 or 12 Celsius across the far west. Still cold in the east, 3 or 4 degrees. And then a low pressure system could give some very strong and gusty winds Sunday night into Monday morning across parts of Northern Ireland, northwest Scotland. But this eventually clearing, and the day ahead looks like a mixture of areas of cloud and rain, and generally milder for all. And it generally stays unsettled into next week. Further spells of rain at times, but staying on the mild side.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Right, good evening, it's 10 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight,
there will come a day that we will see far more radical extremists and terrorists coming out of Europe.
we had all the warnings, didn't we? But did we do anything about it? No. How far does the Islamist influence in British institutions go? And it comes as senior police warnings coincide with the UAE scaling back student placements in the UK, would you believe it? We'll bring you some breaking news on this too. Also, why British children are being targeted with an anti-terror computer game by the Home Office. It's designed to tackle far-right extremism, supposedly. Interestingly, there's no mention of radical Islam anywhere in that game. Also,
immigrants are welcome here, no hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here, no hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here.
well, do you think the US ICE officers were right or wrong when it came to the shooting of a protester who rammed her vehicle into an ICE officer? Well, that was, of course, a few days ago. Breaking tonight, though, protests are erupting across Minneapolis following the shooting of that protester, Renee Macklin Good. Plus, well, you all know it, Iran is in its 13th day of a countrywide rebellion against the terrorist regime. Is the Ayatollah about to flee to Russia? We'll bring you all the updates and a look at the papers. And splashing on the Mail, spineless Prime Minister is turning UK into military pygmy. They just keep coming, these headlines for the PM, don't they? And I'll be telling you why the Sun reckons it's Meg's summer return. Please, no.
Elon Musk.
Get the hell out of our politics and our country.
Will Keir Starmer ban X in Britain? And do Labour really care about AI-generated images of women in bikinis more than they care about the rape gang epidemic in Britain? We'll be getting to the bottom of it here. Also, I'll be telling you why Rachel Reeves' stealth tax could be forcing Britain's churches to close. That's in the next hour. And joining me to talk about all these brilliant topics, former Conservative Special Advisor Lauren McEvitt, former Labour Advisor Paul Richards, and senior political correspondent at the Daily Express, Christian Calgie. Can you guess what happens next?
All right, thank you. You'll make it back one way or the other. You're all going to do very well. I think really very well. Marco just gave me a note.
As you know, your Saturday night is just getting started. We'll tell you the stories here that no other news channel is covering. But first, let's get your news with Sophia Wensler.
Alex, thank you and good evening. It's 3 minutes past 10. These are your headlines. Donald Trump has said he's ready to help Iranians protesting against the regime as Iran faces international condemnation over the killing of anti-government demonstrators. The US president said on Truth Social that Iran was looking at freedom and that the US was ready to help. It comes after reports US government officials are considering striking multiple Iranian military targets. At least 50 people have been killed since the demonstrations began 2 weeks ago. with the country's supreme leader accusing protesters of trying to please the president of the US. Meanwhile, breaking in the last hour, the US military has carried out multiple strikes in Syria targeting the Islamic State militant group. According to the US Central Command, the large-scale strikes were carried out at around 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. At least 29 people have been arrested in Minneapolis during protests over the death of a woman who was shot by a US Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent. The city mayor has urged activists to remain peaceful and not to take bait from President Trump. Over 1,000 rallies against immigration enforcement are planned across the US after 37-year-old Renee Good was shot in her car on Wednesday. The Trump administration said the agent who fired the shots acted in self-defense, but local officials say the women posed no danger. Elon Musk has accused Sir Keir Starmer's government of being fascist after ministers threatened to ban the social media site X over AI-generated sexualised images. It came after Downing Street called changes to chatbot Grok insulting to victims of misogyny and sexual violence. The tech tycoon claimed critics of his X platform want any excuse for censorship. Meanwhile, David Lammy has said the US Vice President J.D. Vance agrees that sexualised AI deepfakes are entirely unacceptable. The Deputy Prime Minister spoke to The Guardian after meeting with Mr. Vance in Washington. And warnings for snow, ice, wind and rain remain in force this weekend as Britain braces for further wintry weather following Storm Goretti. Tens of thousands of people in England have been left without power, and one person has been killed in Cornwall following the severe weather. Those are your latest GB News headlines. I'll have more for you in an hour.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. And we'll start off with this. Islamic extremism has infiltrated almost every British institution. Just look at this week's headlines. Robert Jenrick, the Shadow Justice Secretary, is warning that police are surrendering to Islamists on our streets, allowing mob rule while cracking down on ordinary Brits. And then this. West Midlands Police holding a recruitment drive at a mosque that has previously hosted extremist preachers. Meanwhile, breaking tonight, according to The Times, the mosque helped appoint police chief who was banned the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. Well, you can start to paint a picture here, can't you? And in The Telegraph, another breaking line, the secret dossier reveals the police, this is West Midlands Police again, covered up the threat to Maccabi players. Now, that was threats coming from South Asian men in this reports log that they found that said that they might be on their way to cause some kind of violence. That's in The Telegraph. And let's not forget the Met Police in London making up excuses for Islamists shouting for jihad on the streets of London. And it's not just the police, is it? Our prisons have been overrun by these Islamist gangs. And as The Telegraph reported last year, these groups use violence and intimidation to control high-security wings, radicalising ordinary criminals into potential terrorists. Now, former prison governor Ian Acheson warned years ago that separation units were needed because Islamic extremists were turning jails literally into recruitment centres. Yet here we are, with the Muslim prison population increasing significantly over the last 20 years, and authorities are still watching on while that dangerous ideology radicalises more and more people behind bars. And then there's our universities, now becoming hotbeds of radicalisation. The United Arab Emirates, the UAE, has just pulled scholarships for their students studying here in the UK, citing fears of Islamist influence on campuses. This is a Muslim country pulling those scholarships. This is insane. The Muslim Brotherhood, banned or designated a terrorist organisation in many countries, by the way, may operate freely through some of these student societies.
There will come a day that we will see far more radical extremists and terrorists coming out of Europe because of the lack of decision-making, trying to be politically correct, or assuming that they know the Middle East and they know Islam and they know the others far better than we do. And I'm sorry, but that's pure ignorance.
There you go. That was a pretty plain warning years ago, by the way. The foreign minister for the UAE speaking a while back now. And former Prime Minister David Cameron's own review found their ideology acts as a gateway to radical views. But Labour won't ban them. In fact, it still seems determined to come up with anti-Islamophobia laws, which will only lead to an increase in radical Islamist extremism, won't it? And don't forget our schools. The Trojan horse scandal in Birmingham exposed hardline Islamists trying to impose conservative teachings, sidelining music, drama and anything not fitting their worldview. And investigations found undue religious influence. And the warnings were ignored for years in the name of, you guessed it, community cohesion. What does that remind you of? Even some charities and mosques aren't immune. Foreign funding from places promoting Wahhabi ideology has poured in, hosting extremist preachers and literature. This isn't about, by the way, ordinary British Muslims. The vast majority who reject this ideology, by the way, this is about a small group of militant people exploiting our tolerance, our institutions, our very British values of fairness and free speech to push an agenda that rejects democracy, women's rights, and completely fails at integration. I would also add that moderate Muslims need to speak out more because silence is compliance. And how much longer do we let this go on for? How many more police forces are being guided and effectively co-opted by Islamist extremists? How many more prisons turned into jihadi training grounds? How many more young minds are going to be poisoned on campuses? How long is it before we become the next Islamic Republic just like Iran? Because it only takes a small group of people. The Iranians will tell you that. We need serious radical leadership that confronts this head on. The Muslim Brotherhood must be banned in Britain. Moderate Muslims need to actually show they're taking this seriously. Mosques need to be regulated like they do in Arab nations. And we must denaturalise and deport people that hate our way of life. We're getting to a point where there's not many options left. Britain is a tolerant country. But tolerance of intolerance is suicide. And national suicide is the path we're on. All right, I'll come straight to my panel here. Lauren, I'll start with you. I always feel like the Tory government didn't do enough while it was in power to tackle this issue, particularly in our prisons, which I think is a really bad training ground for jihadis now in Britain. Do you think the Labour government is doing enough?
OK, who owns Harrods?
I'm not sure anyway. What used to be
What's one of the largest airlines to fly into the United Kingdom?
Oh, the Qataris. Correct. Yes.
That's why it wasn't designated as a terrorist organisation after the 2014 review, which reported fully in 2015. There was strong lobbying from the Qataris to say, no, don't designate this as a terrorist organisation, which had been on the cards for the 14-15 review. It wasn't just, is this, an extreme ideology? Is this a terrorist organisation?
Right.
To which the review said, no, it is not. And there was significant lobbying, particularly from the Qataris, around that. Qatar influence is absolutely vast. You see it in the US at the moment. The Qataris have bought the Kennedy Trump Center in Washington and are saying that a room that was dedicated to a previous Israeli president or prime minister now has to be renamed for a Muslim leader rather than an Israeli one. You see this absolutely everywhere. There is a problem with Qatari influence being purchased in large parts of the world that prevents us from saying things in public because we need the FD, the foreign direct investment coming into the UK.
Well, I think that says a lot about the position we are in Britain. Before I come to you, Christian and Paul, I just want to bring in, we've got a guest joining us from the UAE, political analyst Ahmed Al-Amari. Ahmed, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Such a pleasure to have you on the show. How has the UAE tackled extremism? Because it's very embarrassing for Britain when we've got headlines like the UAE's pulling scholarships because you're worried about Islamist extremism in Britain. How have you guys dealt with it over there?
So, first of all, thank you for having me on your show. In my opinion, the UAE approached Islamist extremism early as an institutional and ideological challenge. So it focused on governance. Now, clear legal boundaries were established from day one. So funding streams were monitored and educational and religious spaces were regulated. Now, political Islam was treated as a structured movement that grows through institutions when boundaries are weak. Now, moving on to the international aspect, the UAE has shared this framework. We never hid this blueprint for the West. We use this through cooperation and policy exchange. Now, the core lesson is very simple and it's clear. Institutions need authority. So universities, charities, and civic spaces need clear rules and boundaries like transparency and enforcement. So extremist movements start to lose influence when they cannot embed themselves inside legitimate institutions.
Ahmed, what do you think should be done here in the UK? We are seeing this incredible rise of Islamist extremism here in Britain. How should we be tackling it? Should we be following the UAE's playbook?
It has been clear since day one. Our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed, has been saying it for years, and we have been mentioning it for years, and we have been repeating this on and on and on. Now, I would like to pose a question back. Why are Western governments still debating frameworks while institutional capture is already visible on campuses? And why do universities prioritize procedural comfort over enforcing authority and protecting academic space? And when a workable model and a blueprint like the UAE's blueprint for containing ideological movements has been demonstrated in plain sight for years, why is it treated as an optional insight rather than just a practical guidance?
Yeah, it's quite bonkers to many Brits as well, Ahmed, by the way. Many of us are scratching our heads as to how this has happened to Britain. Why do you think this has happened to the United Kingdom? Have you got any opinion as to why that might be?
Now, to be honest, I'd like to use also a personal aspect, because there was a time where British and Irish universities were elite institutions. They were, let's say, the global gold standard. And I know that personally, because at one point I was planning on studying in the UK myself. But today, I wouldn't even recommend these environments to students, because let's look at it through an ecosystem lens, if you will. Governments can spend years talking about stopping someone from planting a tree. Now, networks have grown roots across student politics, activist structures, and campus governance. So in a way, these radical extremist Islamists have bluffed the West, basically. They have been playing this game for years and years, while the West has been thinking of, oh, how can I stop them from planting a tree? Well, sorry to say this, but they have a whole rainforest, a whole ecosystem, whereas you're just like to look at the small dot on the big page. Now, universities offer young minds legitimacy and future influence. So that makes them the natural scouting and incubation spaces for disciplined Islamist movements. Now, if you don't mind, from public reporting and discussions, concerns have surfaced around universities and cities such as Birmingham, Manchester, and parts of London, as well as major campuses in Ireland as well. Now, I'm not accusing institutions as a whole. I'm just pointing to a recurring pattern that appears across systems. Now, to have a UAE aspect to it, this is a security and responsibility assessment. The question is whether an environment protects education or enables ideological recruitment under the label of activism. In my view, that distinction explains that concern.
Yeah, well, it's very concerning to us, and it's really good to get your opinion on this, Ahmed, because, you know, when people look at a Muslim country like the UAE and go, how on earth are you telling us we've got an Islamist extremism problem here in Britain? It really does make people wake up and wonder. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. Please come back again soon. That's Ahmed Alameri, there, political analyst from the UAE. I'll come back to my panel here, Paul. It seems to many people, and many of our viewers will say, that Labour has a problem addressing this issue. They seem they seem to be, they were kicking and screaming, dragged kicking and screaming to have the rape gang inquiry. Now again, we seem to be more focused on sort of challenging AI-generated images than we are tackling radical Islamism.
Well, I reject that completely, actually. And I can remember working for the previous Labour government just after 7/7, working with the counter-terrorism minister, where she, for example, said that the government should not engage with the Muslim Council for Britain because it was deemed extremist. A lot of money was put into supporting women's organisations within Muslim communities, different strands of Islam that were non-violent, so the Sufis and the Ahmadiyyas and so on, and then tackling this ideology head-on. So I think that there's been a long story in our country of us trying to tackle this. Now, occasionally and horribly, you know, institutions are captured. So I'm thinking of the West Midlands Police's actions in the last few weeks with the question of Maccabi fans coming to the UK. I think Craig Guilford needs to go over that, by the way, and perhaps some of the other senior leadership as well. But I mean, it's constant vigilance and it's constant education too, so we understand what it is we are talking about when we're talking about Islamism.
Christian, do you think the Labour government got an issue with dealing with Islamism in the UK?
Well, I think they do, but it increasingly makes no sense for them not to deal with it. I think for a very long time, the Labour Party felt worried that if it tried confronting some of these very profound and structural issues, that it would lose votes. Now, of course, we see that they are losing votes to, Islamist independent MPs, and actually, unless they tackle it, they will lose more seats. So there is a political incentive now for Labour to try and deal with this. A fascinating discussion, because I've always thought it would be very sensible for a government of any colour to commission a top-to-bottom review of this matter from Middle Eastern countries, because I think they are not just more authoritative, but perhaps are better able to put forward more radical solutions that might be necessary than British politicians that might be uncomfortable or scared of seeming like they're demonising. If it's coming from, the Muslim majority country itself, I think it would help spread that message. But clearly there is an issue, and specifically on the police. I think the fundamental issue is that the police have become far, far too concerned about prioritising community cohesion and avoiding riots, and of course they need to. But if preventing outbreaks of riots and protests is put ahead of doing the right thing, then we get into a problem, because then the largest group in many communities will be, Muslim over Jewish. Then regardless of how distasteful and radical and extremist that vocal minority Muslim view is, it will be the Jews that are told, stay at home, protect yourself, let's put, armed security around mosques, rather than dealing with
a lot of the problem with
issue.
this, though, comes down to the very concept of policing by consent in this country, which is the bedrock of what policing was founded on, but it doesn't match up to the modern requirements of policing. But in order to change it, we need to alter one of the fundamental tenets of our police forces, which is policing by community consent.
Yes, but who are these community spokesmen as well? How often do we hear the police have consulted with community leaders?
Who elected them? I want to be a community leader. I'd love to direct some forces around Britain.
Of the Islamic faith in general is a lack of singular leadership, like the Pope or the Archbishop of Canterbury. It just doesn't exist in the religion in the same way.
Well, that's true. We're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately. West Midlands Police has not commented further on fresh allegations, but in a previous statement, the force said this: a huge amount of planning went into the operation with the aim of preventing crime and disorder and disruption to the game and keeping everyone safe. The operation achieved its aims of keeping everyone in attendance safe, and this is down to the hard work of all the officers and staff from West Midlands Police and other forces around the country. We contacted Green Lane Masjid and Community Centre, and previously they said this: GLMCC was contacted by WMP as part of routine community engagement, in the same way that the Jewish community and other groups were engaged. In any engagement between Green Lane Masjid and West Midlands Police has been routine, transparent and focused solely on safeguarding all Birmingham residents and maintaining public order. It does not amount to endorsement of nor influence over operational policing decisions. To imply otherwise is misleading. All right, time now for a Great British giveaway. It's your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. It's an incredible 85 grand. Here's all the details.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. What would you spend all of that cash on? 2026 could be the year you spend more time spending, with an incredible £85,000 in your bank. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 9th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Coming up, the front page of The Independent says former Lord Chief Justice tells PM to fix IPP scandal. And coming up after the break, the government has told Ofcom they must keep all options on the table when dealing with X, Elon Musk's company, over the Grok scandal, including banning the platform altogether. Wouldn't they just love that, wouldn't they? This is Alex Armstrong tonight, only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, weekdays from 9 p.m.
Look, this is winter. It's flu. Flu comes in winter. Sure as eggs is eggs. There's nothing particularly special about the virus. It has mutated, but that change has made it able to spread through the community by defeating our existing immunity. But the virus itself remains the same in terms of its clinical impact. So while it's a problem at a community and population level, lots of cases, for people who catch this, it's no worse than normal seasonal flu. It's not like we've got a supercharged flu that makes people much iller. We've got a virus that's spreading better and it's come earlier. So we're seeing it rising up the sort of infectious disease rates faster for this time of year. And there are a number of reasons for that, partly because it is a different virus, it's mutated. We haven't seen this particular strain spread for a couple of years. So population immunity levels are quite low. That's why it's spreading more.
What you said there, very calm, very rational, quite reassuring, to be honest with you, seems very logical, understandable. Earlier today, the BBC decided to do a report that looked a lot like this. Let's play the clip.
The throwback, isn't it? We were used to wearing these a few years ago. Now this is the precaution being taken. Also, people are being told to make sure their hands are clean and that they're not bringing germs into the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we haven't got time to play it all, but she goes on to, like, you know, use the hand sanitizer. Again, I'm just wondering if it's a little bit fear-mongery.
Well, look, we must take flu seriously because it's a fact that if we tot up the excess mortality in the wintertime, just in the UK, and we attribute a lot of this excess mortality to flu, in an average year, maybe 5,000-6,000 people will lose their lives to flu. And in a bad year, it might be as high as 20,000. So we don't take this lightly. We're not complacent about flu.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
The government is giving Ofcom days to crack down on Elon Musk's X after Grok AI was used to whip up sexualised deepfakes, digitally undressing people without consent. Elon Musk said that the UK government is looking for any excuse for censorship and that the total ban on X is completely unnecessary. Well, X has since restricted Grok to paid users who are required to pay, of course, for the service and provide their name and bank details, making it much easier to identify and trace those who generate and share explicit images using the tool. Well, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has hit out at the government for even considering it.
Thought of banning X from a government that's been attacking free speech and creating a two-tier society in our country, frankly, is appalling. Look, this feature clearly is horrible in every way, distasteful, sick. I get all of that. I know that X today have made some changes to say only paying subscribers can use the service. X will need to go further, but the thought of banning platforms, I mean, what is happening in 21st century Britain?
Joining us now is founder of Fair Cop even and free speech advocate Harry Miller. Harry, pleasure to have you on the show. Do you think the government would go as far as banning X to tackle this issue?
Yeah, I think they absolutely would. I would put nothing past this government. They are terrified of the population. They're terrified when we speak to each other. They're terrified of GBNews. They're terrified of independent news organisations. And I think this has provided them with a great excuse to crack down on X, to wield out their ridiculous Online Safety Act. And of course, they're doing it all in the name of protecting the people. Well, that's precisely what the German Democratic Republic did in 1961 when they put up the Berlin Wall. This was supposed to be an anti-fascist measure to keep the horrible fascists out. But what it did, of course, was keep the East Germans in. It kept them penned in. It kept them in a position where the government could reign over them unopposed. And as far as I'm concerned, this is precisely what's happening here. As Nigel Farage has just said, yes, there are definitely concerns about the deep fakes on X, and we've got to trust that Elon Musk will do something about that. He's already indicated that he will do something about that. But banning the platform is not the answer. Now, I also think it's quite interesting, isn't it, that this government is suddenly concerned about sexualized deep fakes. Well, it had no such concern when X and Twitter before it was promoting sexualized deep fake women in the name of the trans cause. It was quite happy to promote that. It had about the risk to young people as puberty blockers were being pushed on social media platforms, where youngsters were being told that you could go by whatever pronoun you wanted, that gender identity was internal, and that your parents and your teachers and everybody had to support you in your delusion, which of course led to very real world consequences. Puberty blockers are irreversible. So I think that this is the government coming very late to the party, and they're doing it in a very disingenuous way, and they're doing it purely for their own ends. I don't trust them one little bit.
Oh, Harry Miller, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I totally agree with your sentiments there. Pleasure to have you on the show as ever. Let's get the thoughts of my panel here. Paul, I have a feeling you might disagree. I don't think that the Labour government should ever consider banning a social media platform. No matter how much they don't like the content on there, it actually ends up becoming this forward stride towards China, towards authoritarianism.
Well, we're against kiddie porn, aren't we?
Yes, well, of course. We're against I think that goes without saying, yes.
And we're against nonces sharing images of children in sexualised ways.
Yes,
right?
of course.
So if the threat to say, look, if you're going to carry on promulgating this stuff, and you've monetised it, by the way, say it's only the paid subscribers are allowed to do it, then the threat of being shut down should be enough to make you stop doing it.
Well, why haven't you shut down Pornhub and other, online pornography?
We've got a bill coming in to try and protect children in exactly that way, because the internet is not an ungoverned space where anyone can do and say anything. It should come under the decency laws that unite us as a society.
We have to apologise.
Porn is that, isn't it? Isn't that the line over on which we don't
absolutely. But we just have to apologise for the words that you, a naughty word you used a moment ago, Paul. I'm not going to repeat it because I'll get in trouble for then saying it.
I think we're after the watershed, and I think actually
no. We'll leave it there. We'll leave it. But I'm apologising for the naughty word. All right, Christian. Do you think it sort of goes full Orwell here if we ban X over these digitally edited images? I don't agree with them, by the way, at all in the digital editing. I think Grok needs to change a little bit. But we didn't ban Photoshop. We haven't banned Pornhub. We haven't banned other online platforms. Why is Elon Musk being targeted?
Yeah, I think it's either malicious or stupid. And I'm yet to make up my mind, but I think you alluded to the core issue there, which is that Grok is just one generative AI tool. ChatGPT can do exactly the same. Google Gemini can do exactly the same. Now, why are Labour MPs and ministers not talking about that? Is it because they don't understand AI, which of course is entirely plausible? I don't believe many politicians actually understand the internet. Or is there a very convenient umbrella to be used to shut down a social media service that has been really damaging to the popularity of this government? I'm still holding out for that. But I think it has been a ridiculous debate. Once again, I don't like it. I don't approve of people being stabbed.
Yeah.
I don't want to ban knives because actually it's incredibly useful tools that we all use. We all use artificial intelligence. It's not about whether the tool can do damage. It's about what the people using that tool and what they're using it for. And I think this sort of broad brush approach, I used the phrase earlier, a pickaxe to crack a walnut. It's exactly the same sort of terrible legislation and Westminster nonsense by politicians who don't understand what they're talking about.
Lauren, I need your opinion in 10 seconds for me.
I think it's being community noted too much, and that's why. But I also think that Trump tried to ban TikTok. I think that Claude and ChatGPT have better preventative measures in place to stop people using them for that purpose. I think that what Elon Musk should take away from this is, okay, very clearly, in order to operate in this regulatory environment, I need to make sure that there's a better safeguard in place, and then we'll continue to work, because that's the only thing on the table.
Fair enough. All right, can you all at home guess what happens next?
All right, thank you. You'll make it back one way or the other. You're all going to do very well. I think really very well. Marco just gave me a note.
And I'm going to be bringing you the front pages hot off the press. That's next on Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Strong winds are expected across eastern parts of the Mediterranean at the moment. Meanwhile, heavy rain will affect parts of Turkey into Cyprus as well. This system is gradually moving away, so it's going to dry up across Greece and the Greek islands early next week. A few showers eastern parts of Italy, otherwise plenty of fine weather, and Spain's looking reasonable. Sunny spells, average temperatures. Likewise for the Canaries, plenty of fine weather to come during the days ahead.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. A very unsettled 24 hours through the night into Sunday. Heavy rain, some snow and ice, and some strong and gusty winds developing. All because of a change of weather type. We're losing the blues on the map. The cold weather we've seen all week being replaced by Atlantic weather systems, milder air, but an increasing risk of strong winds and heavy rain. And heavy rain pushing in across Northern Ireland, Western Scotland with some strong and gusty winds. Met Office warnings out here. And as that weather system bumps up against the cold air, parts of Scotland, Northern England seeing the risk of some heavy snow, some icy conditions developing. Cold in the southeast, but staying dry here with some frost and ice to start Sunday morning. But a very unsettled start across parts of Scotland. An amber snow warning out here. We could see 20 to 30 centimetres of snow falling over the next 24 hours. Also heavy rain, and that becoming increasingly a feature as we go through the day, leading to the risk of flooding. Rain across Northern Ireland, a mix of rain, sleet and snow for parts of Northern England. Some of this will be icy and lead to some tricky travelling conditions. Rain across Wales and the West Country as well. And Sunday itself will be a wet day, a windy day, gusts of 60, 70 miles an hour across parts of Scotland in particular. But milder air pushing in through the day, so the snow turning back to rain by the afternoon. Eventually still some snow over the high ground, and those temperatures really rising, 11 or 12 Celsius across the far west. Still cold in the east, 3 or 4 degrees. And then a low pressure system could give some very strong and gusty winds Sunday night into Monday morning across parts of Northern Ireland, northwest Scotland. But this eventually clearing, and the day ahead looks like a mixture of areas of cloud and rain, and generally milder for all. And it generally stays unsettled into next week. Further spells of rain at times, but staying on the mild side.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Right, here we go. I've got your front pages with me right here. Now, let's start with the Daily Mail, shall we? Because they're bringing... Oh, it's a pretty bad one for Keir Starmer. Spineless PM is turning UK into military pygmy. I have to read that to actually understand what that all means, but here we go. Independent. Former Lord Chief Justice tells the Prime Minister to fix IPP scandal. And The Sun. Meg's summer return. Is she coming back to the UK? God forbid. The Mirror. We're healing together. OK, not united by tragedy. I don't know what that's all about, so we'll get into that. And leading the GBnews.com website tonight, we will find you. US launches revenge strikes against ISIS after terrorists kill 3 Americans. European minister offers Keir Starmer one-word solution to tackle the small boats crisis. And just in the bottom corner there, you can see this is a topic I really want to talk about tonight. It's an exclusive GB News on our website, so you can go and check that out on GBnews.com. How stealth tax risks record church closures as Britain's historic places of worship are at risk. This is a great story. We will dig into that in the next hour. All right, well, let's start, shall we, with the Daily Mail. Spineless PM is turning the UK into a military pygmy as Iran's leader in exile pleads for British support to a top brass warn of funding crisis and furious Farage, of course, is blunt. This is Farage's statements here. Lauren, what do you think?
I think this is, this shows that Keir Starmer doesn't have control over the Ministry of Defence. John Healey doesn't have control over the Ministry of Defence. Keir Starmer was adamant that the Strategic Defence Review was fully costed. He said so in public. They were supposed to announce the Defence Industrial Procurement Strategy, whatever it was, around the time of DSCI, the big Defence Expo in September. They did announce the strategy. They did not announce what was called the plan, which is where actually the money was coming from. We now hear we're not going to get that until, May this year, maybe. They have no idea how to get to grips with MOD expenditure. Meanwhile, every single defence contractor in the United Kingdom, and this is an enormous portion of our economy, by the way. The last time I checked, it was aerospace and defence was the second largest employer in Wales after the public sector. It's massive, and they're all waiting, having tooled up their factories, for the government to spend some money and buy some things that it's promised to buy, and they're going to have to start putting people out of work because the government is not coughing up any cash. Meanwhile, it's going to have to try and settle with General Dynamics over the Ajax tanks being as bad as they are.
Well, this is the thing, Christian, isn't it? Because the country's already facing black hole upon black hole, tax rise upon tax rise, borrowing upon borrowing. It just started the year off, and it seems Guido were reporting the other day we're already in an £8 billion black hole 10 days into the year. What do you make of this story?
Yeah, I mean, and as Lauren sets out the backdrop to the state of the British military, I think Farage was absolutely well within his right to question whether Britain has the capacity, given those circumstances, to send over 7,000 troops to police a Ukraine-Russia potential ceasefire with no deadline, no end in sight, and only the French to back us up. And I'm afraid that's the context, I believe, of Nigel Farage's attack here, which is he promised big. And he seemed to suggest he was leading Europe, and with or without America, there would be enough troops to defend this ceasefire. And it seems that over time, the Germans fell away, the Italians fell away, and we've been left with just us and France. And I don't think that is enough to properly police this ceasefire. And unfortunately, Keir Starmer has not been moving nearly quickly enough. We also know, for example, that this claim about reaching 2.5% of GDP on defence, hitting 3%, that also includes the money we're spending on the Chagos deal.
Good point.
And therefore, those claims are bokum.
Yeah, Paul, this is the thing, isn't it? Labour has committed to spending a lot of money. The black hole is only going to get bigger. The Chancellor hasn't ruled out coming back for more, has she? Should we now brace for more tax rises as the shortfall looks, if we have to do all this military stuff? Well, it looks like we're going to need to, because Donald Trump needs us to be take us seriously. It looks like we're going to have more tax rises as a result, probably.
I think the context for Farage's remarks remarks, by the way, because he's got snow on his boots rather than anything else. So you have to understand that. And so many.
But do you mean that he's a Putin sympathiser? Is that what you're trying to say?
I think so many of his supporters have told me personally they wouldn't fight for their king and country, and I thought.
But that's more. I don't think that's because they don't want to fight Putin, Paul. I think that's because they don't want to fight for this government and they don't like King Charles. A lot of them.
And that's an astonishing.
I'm just telling you what I've heard.
It's what we hear all the time, isn't it? And plus obviously the Nathan Gill case with the taking money from the Russians and ending up in prison as a result. So I think there's some more context than Christian was mentioning. We need to increase defence expenditure. We're going to have to get used to the idea we are going to have to militarise as a society. I've got children. I've told them both they should expect to be in the army at some point, and we are going to have to, at some point, go back to a situation where we have a military-style economy.
But why waste all this money on Chagos just to appease some international courts that have no power? They're completely toothless. We've just seen the President of the United States take out the Venezuelan dictator, bomb Syria, and he's looking at Iran and Cuba and other places next. And we've got Keir Starmer here going, oh, I'll abide by the international law. I mean, it makes us look ridiculous, Paul, doesn't it?
Well, the first thing he did in office was to scrap the aid budget and put it into defence. John Healey, I think, is an excellent defence secretary who completely gets this. But I think as a society, for years, I mean, my generation has not had to fight a war. We've demilitarised. You don't see uniforms in the street anymore. Everyone knows somebody who works for the NHS, but very few people know anyone who's in the armed forces anymore. And we're just going to have to change all that. Our whole worldview on defence is going to have to change.
OK, Lauren?
Our whole worldview on defence has to change in relation to cybersecurity as well. It looks like there's a massive class action coming against Marks and Spencers in relation to the cyber attack that they faced. Too much of the onus of state-backed cybersecurity threats is being placed on business and not on the government, and we have to fundamentally overhaul that, otherwise private business in this country is going to go down the tubes too.
Yeah, indeed. Well, look, we've got loads more of these front pages to bring you. The Telegraph is saying this: Trump vows to help Iran protesters. Are we about to see a revolution in Iran backed by the USA? This is Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News. Oh, OK, well, maybe we're not going yet.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Well, you're absolutely right. Spot on. I couldn't help feeling that perhaps it was actually just a joke, and they were going to come back in 2 years' time and say, we took you all in. It was, in fact, a joke. Now we're going to produce something more serious, because it was absolutely hilarious and ridiculous. Commercial suicide, I described it as.
Well, the individual behind it is no more. What would you like to see from the brand? Presumably not people with asymmetric haircuts in pink dresses with sledgehammers doing precisely zero to do with cars.
Well, again, absolutely, you're spot on. I mean, it's just totally unrelated to cars at all. There wasn't even a car in the advert. Jaguar was built on style, and that brought passion for cars. That's what made them different. I remember many years ago, a Jaguar executive in the States saying to me, people say, I like my Mercedes, but I love my Jaguar. It's all about passion. Style engendered that. That's what we've got to have. We need to see a proper, more traditional, stylish, real Jaguar that can build on the brand and the heritage of the past.
OK, Philip Paulson, I'm going to put you on the spot now. If you're in charge of the next Jaguar advert, what would it look like?
As diametrically opposite and different as it possibly could be from what they produced. I suppose, I mean, I live a little in the past, I admit, although I also think I'm hopefully realistic about the current situation and everything, the present. But I'd like to see the heritage shown. Jaguar were not afraid to talk in the past about their heritage, the Le Mans wins back in the 50s, the E-Type in the 60s. This is what added excitement and luster to the brand.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
More front pages for you here. The Sunday Telegraph are saying this: Trump vows to help Iran protesters. Wow, we'll see if that starts becoming a bit more serious. The Sunday Times: Iran death toll in the hundreds. This is kind of what I was saying earlier on with our guest. The Observer: world without rules. The Express: Kemi, I'll save high streets and kickstart Britain. And OK, right, let's get the thoughts of my panel on these stories. Should we start with Trump vowing to help Iran's protesters? He has pledged this before, Lauren, the front page of the Sunday Telegraph here, and he has pledged this before, right? He said a few days ago, if they start killing protesters, we're locked and loaded. Do you think that America should get involved?
So the whole concept of the term the Great Satan is one of the big Iranian Revolution concepts. I think that there's a delegitimizing that happens for the Iranian protesters if America, in particular America, gets involved.
Right.
Because you get Khomeini then being able to turn around and say, this is all just a plot. This is just an American and Israeli plot. And to give him any kind of credibility when he says that is to kind of, feed into his machine. It might whip up more support for him within Iran that's currently just staying home. So I do think there's a danger to it, but I think that somebody needs to support somebody on the side of the protesters. And I think it would have to come through a proxy rather than coming from the United States.
Yeah, because, Christian, this is... I sort of share your opinion on this, by the way, and I guess the difficulty is that they are facing a quite powerful regime who will quite happily, and this is why we're having this debate with someone who is very stupid, saying that we should have nukes, that Iran should build nukes, by the way, which I couldn't believe was even social commentary. But they would happily use those nukes against the Iranian people if it meant staying in power, in my opinion. That's what I think they do. This is the danger. They need someone, as Lauren was saying, to back them up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think most people in the West have our fingers sort of crossed that this revolution is going to succeed, and I think it's very unlikely that what comes next can be worse. So I think that's why we're potentially a bit more optimistic about what's going on. I agree on America. I think it would be negative. I'm just reading the article on Trump, I think specifically saying he's potentially ready to strike Iranian military bases, which again seems potentially opportunistic, given I don't think that would be particularly helpful at this stage. But given, I've said it all this week, with the BBC's obsession with what's been going on in Minneapolis, Iran is terrifying. It's so scary. I remember I went to Israel a few months before October the 7th, and, we were all talking about, me and a few journalists, Russia and North Korea, and actually we all came away going, Iran if they get nuclear weapons, that's World War III. And that is why, again, all sorts of issues about security in Britain, the cost of oil, the funding of so many terrorist organisations that have been destabilising not just the region but the world. The regime, I hope, falls, but I don't think Donald Trump, his style of diplomacy and, bomb first, answer questions later, is necessarily the best strategy here.
Yeah. Paul, what do you make of it? Should Trump help Iran?
Well, I think Christian's right to use the word revolution, because it is more than just protesters. This does feel like regime change led by the people. I think the role of the Americans should be then to do the post-revolutionary rebuilding, a lot like when the Berlin Wall came down and American money went in to rebuild the economy and think tanks and all of that sort of economic revolution, which which is what Iran is going to have. Also, de-radicalisation needs to take place because the anti-Semitism within Iran is so embedded. You know, if they did get a bomb, it wouldn't be against their own people. It would be Tel Aviv would be the first target if the Iranians ever got a nuclear bomb. So the Americans do have a positive role to play, but I don't think it's going to be militarily right now.
OK. Do you think European leaders have been strong enough on this? They've come out and said to the Iranian regime, you know, don't go too far here. Is that really kind of don't they want to come out and say, you know, help the Americans have come out and said, you know, free Iran, let's go? Do you think we need to be a bit stronger on this stuff?
I think we're right behind the people, aren't we? I don't think anyone's propping up the mullahs.
Everybody's terrified of saying something that gives legitimacy to something that many can say on Twitter or to whip up a group of people who currently appear to be staying home and allowing this to progress. The issue here is not whether or not more people from the regime come out to fight against the revolutionaries. The issue here is whether or not sort of normal people who've done well under the current regime but aren't wild about it start coming out to support the regime. And if they're staying home at the moment, what you don't want to do is radicalise them in towards the regime. So I think everybody's terrified of not knowing enough. You know, every media, every journalist who says we can't cover it because there's no one there isn't lying. There isn't a lot of information that comes out of Iran.
Well, listen, we'll be talking a lot more about this. We'll bring you those updates as well if we get them from Donald Trump. We'll get that on the late edition next. But first, let's get your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. A very unsettled 24 hours through the night into Sunday. Heavy rain, some snow and ice and some strong and gusty winds developing, all because of a change of weather type. We're losing the blues on the map. The cold weather we've seen all week being replaced by Atlantic weather systems, milder air, but increasing risk of strong winds and heavy rain. And heavy rain pushing in across Northern Ireland, Western Scotland with some strong and gusty winds. Met Office warnings out here. And as that weather system bumps up against the cold air, parts of Scotland, Northern England seeing the risk of some heavy snow, some icy conditions developing. Cold in the southeast, but staying dry here with some frost and ice to start Sunday morning. But a very unsettled start across parts of Scotland. An amber snow warning out here. We could see 20 to 30 centimetres of snow falling over the next 24 hours. Also heavy rain, and that becoming increasingly a feature as we go through the day, leading to the risk of flooding. Rain across Northern Ireland, a mix of rain, sleet and snow for parts of Northern England. Some of this will be icy and lead to some tricky travelling conditions. Rain across Wales and the West Country as well. And Sunday itself will be a wet day, a windy day, gusts of 60, 70 miles an hour across parts of Scotland in particular, but milder air pushing in through the day, so the snow turning back to rain by the afternoon. Eventually still some snow over the high ground, and those temperatures really rising, 11 or 12 Celsius across the far west. Still cold in the east, 3 or 4 degrees. And then a low pressure system could give some very strong and gusty winds Sunday night into Monday morning across parts of Northern Ireland, northwest Scotland, but this eventually clearing, and the day ahead looks like a mixture of areas of cloud and rain, and generally milder for all, and it generally stays unsettled into next week. Further spells of rain at times, but staying on the mild side.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Spineless Prime Minister is turning the UK into a military pygmy. That is the front page of the Daily Mail, words of Nigel Farage. Iran death toll in the hundreds. That's the front page of the Sunday Times. The Sunday Telegraph, Trump vows to help Iran protesters. And on the other side, Starmer in talks to send troops to Greenland. Oh my goodness, what is going on in 2026? On top of that, Meghan Markle might be coming back to Britain. We've got so much to talk about. I'll see you in 5.